This is Labor Day. I guess it's September the 2nd, 1963. And we're interviewing the Stripling brothers, Charlie and Ira, recorded back as early as 1928, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, I think
and on up into about 1934 for various labels. Charlie was the fiddle player, and Ira was the guitar player.
And I thought about him, if he wants to say something, put in, make a report, a statement, or say something.
Just any information you have, just holler out. Might start, Charlie, I guess he's the first alphabetically.
I'll do the best I can.
What's your full name?
Charlie Melvin Stripling.
Stripling. And what was your birth date?
Well, that's 8th day of August.
In what year? You know what year it was? Do you remember what year?
Well, I was born in 1896.
1896.
8th day of August, 1896.
Where at?
In Pickens County.
Pickens County, yeah. Alabama.
Pickens County, Alabama.
Mm-hmm. Ira, what's your full name?
Ira Lee.
Ira Lee.
Yes.
Stripling, and what was your birth date?
June the 5th, 1898.
1898. You're the younger then.
Yes.
And a guitar player. How did you first get interested in music, Charlie?
Well, I bought ordered a little toy fiddle from Roebuck for my nephew.
Oh.
It came in about 4 or 5 days before Christmas, and I opened into it and tuned it up, and the fiddle was about a foot long, a little tin fiddle, and the bow was about a foot long. And I tuned it up. I learned how to tune one. There's an old man with the name of, we called him Old Uncle Player's Cat, that lived in our community. And he played for dances, and I just a lad old boy, but I'd been to a few dances and heard him play. And I remembered some of the tunes he played. And I got the sawing on that fiddle after I tuned it up, and got where I remembered one of the tunes he played was Lexington on a Boom. Lexington on a Boom.
Boom.
That's what he called it.
B-O-O-M? Boom?
B-O-O-M, I think, where it's spelled. And I remembered that tune, and I got where I could start it. And after I gave my nephew the toy fiddle, and that kind of got me interested. I decided if I could start a tune in that length of time, maybe I could learn to play. So I bought me a fiddle and a bow. It cost $1 from one of my neighbors. And I got practicing then, and I don't remember just how come my brother to get started with me, but he got him a guitar. I don't know where he had it at that time or not, but he bought him one. And he started playing with me with a guitar. And in November, I believe it was, in the same year, after I bought my fiddle, I bought that 1st of January. And they had a fiddlers convention at Kennedy.
Right here in Kennedy.
Yeah. And I entered that fiddlers convention, and I remember I was embarrassed because I hadn't ever played, out that way before. I hadn't ever played for no dance, so I just started learning to play that spring. First year after I bought my nephew that toy fiddle. And I entered that contest, and I'll acknowledge I was kind of embarrassed, I didn't think I'd get anything. But there was 25 fiddlers there, they said. I think that best of my remembrance, 25 fiddlers. There's some in Columbus, some in Birmingham. And I won the first prize over that 25 fiddlers. And that really got me interested then.
How old were you then, would you say?
I think I was and I wasn't over 15, I don't think. And then after I won that prize, then I really got interested in it, and I went to practice. And I believe I can honestly, truthfully tell you, I think I'm certain that I won more prizes, first prize at the Fiddlers Convention, than I lost. I mean, I won more first prizes than, I don't think I ever did fail to get a prize, but most of the time the first prize.
First prize. Whenever, like at this first fiddling convention, was Ira with you then on a guitar, or was it just you yourself?
Yes, he was with me. He started after I bought me a fiddle, and he got him a guitar and started to play him and practice.
This is the Sears Roebuck model? Or?
No, I ordered a new guitar. My father had a country store and a farm, and he was buying stuff out of Baltimore, from Baltimore wholesale house. I bought a new guitar. It cost $6, my first guitar.
Oh, $6.
Wholesale.
That's pretty expensive, I guess.
Yeah, it was. Not much put out for a music instrument then. $6 didn't grow on bushes like they seem to now.
Well, what was your father and mother's name?
My father's name was Thomas Newton Stripling. My mother's name was Sarah Elizabeth.
Were both of them born right around here too, or?
Yes, sir.
And they ran a country store here.
They had a store out in the country. It's 12 miles from here, out in the country.
In Pickens County, or?
Yes, sir.
Did they? Were they musical too? Were they?
Also, they never played anything.
They never played a thing.
They didn't any of our folks ever play anything as we know of till we started.
So you didn't inherit any of it?
No, we just took it up within ourselves.
Very interesting. Maybe you can tell us some more about some of these early fiddle conventions you attended. Like, for instance, that first one that you went to, were you invited, or did you just...
Yes, sir, I was invited. And then they had them around, in little country schools and all over the community. And then I got to go on the fiddlers convention then. Going to Fayette, Millport, for a while, and then I got to get the invitations further off, away from home. And I kind of felt like I couldn't go off, on communities I wasn't known in a strange place in Winterpride, but it looked like it was easy to get them to further off away from home. I got the easier it was to get the prize.
To win.
To win it. I went to pass between here and Birmingham 4 times to high school. They'd have a fiddlers convention every year. And I went up there 4 times and got the first prize every time. And then I went to Birmingham. I didn't win the first prize up there, but I got $50 in gold. And then later on I went to West Point, Mississippi. But now, when we got to going to them places like Birmingham and these large cities, where they had the fiddlers convention, some would call it fiddlers contest, some convention. My brother would go with me the second time. Now you see, when we was playing out here in the country, these little country schools around small town, they'd allow us to have accompanist with a guitar, and he'd always go with me, second with his guitar. But when we went to Birmingham, they wouldn't allow a guitar accompanist. They had to just play the fiddle by
yourself. That'd make it a little rougher?
Yes, it made it a little rougher, and it didn't sound as good to me. I was used to having the guitar second from, And when we went to Memphis, Tennessee, we went. I'd heard of old Uncle Ben Stephen. I think remember reading in the paper where Henry Ford had picked him up, in the mountains in Kentucky, and he liked his fiddle. And he made him famous, And after he gave him his start, then he got to going around, on tours, putting on musical concerts. And he was at Millport one night, and I went down out to hear him. I'd heard of him, but never had heard him play the fiddle. And while we was down there, there's a man called from Memphis, and I think I'm pretty certain that he had got the information that Uncle Buck Stevens was at Millport, and so he called Mr. Will Wallet and wanted to know if he'd come to Memphis to a fiddlers convention, 2nd day of June on Henry Ford's Day. So he was tied up, with his appointments that he couldn't turn loose, and Will told him, said, I've got a man here that can beat him at playing the fiddle. And he said, well, just bring him on over there. And so he asked me if I'd go, and I said, well, I don't think I'd be working for me to go over there. I wouldn't win a prize. He said, well, you're going to win them. And I went on over there, and of course, my brother went with me to second with a guitar, but they wouldn't allow him to second.
That was in Memphis. This is in Memphis?
Yeah.
They wouldn't allow him on guitar there either. Huh?
No. And they had 3 nights of it. Of course, the first 2 nights they didn't give a prize there, but they'd have large crowds though. But this 3rd night, on Saturday night, was the final contest, and that's when they give the prizes out. And they claim that I know there was a bunch of fiddlers there. There's a large number, but I didn't know how many. I didn't count them. But they claim that there were 600 fiddlers there.
600.
And I realized I had a competition. And I was talking with Lester Howell that had moved from Kennedy and had a clothing store in Memphis. I was talking to him that evening, Saturday evening. I told him, I said, I won't win no prize. I said, if you got too big a competition, there's too many of them up against me. He said, well, he said, now don't get scared. He said, you just sit down there and play that fiddle. Just imagine you at home by yourself. and that's what I done. One thing made me so interested in getting the prize. It looked like the manager was working against me. Somehow or another he
was working for that Stevenson. You see, Henry Ford put him on to win down here. The Ford salesman was a manager of the Fiddlers Convention in Memphis.
Oh, I see.
Henry Ford put him on, had the Ford salesman managing him. And so he was working for Stevenson. Of course, it was already fixed for him to have the first prize at that Fiddlers Convention.
If he had been able to make it.
That's what Henry Ford sent him down there for. To win the first prize, he's going to make him champion fiddler of the United States for winning the prize in the South.
But Stevens, of course, couldn't make it there, so they had to pick somebody else.
Yeah, he's the one. He got there. He's the one who got the first prize.
Oh, did Stevens finally make it?
He got the first prize. Charlie here got the second.
Oh, I see. Oh, I had the impression that he couldn't make it, and so that's why they sent you up there to take his place. Or...
He did. They put on that Fiddlers Convention proposal for him. Henry Ford told him he'd come down there in Memphis and win the prize at the Fiddlers Convention. Why, he'd make him champion fiddler of the States. And so he had the Ford salesman to manage the Fiddlers Convention and all, and he picked his judge and told him what he wanted. Of course, it was fixed for Stephen. Everybody said it's fixed for Stephen to get the prize for the Fiddlers Convention. Never come up.
Started.
Well, it's $50 in gold what I got with.
That was actually second prize.
Second prize, yes.
When Stevens appeared here in Millport, did he have anyone with him, or was he just by himself?
He's by himself, I think.
Well, I think there's some fellas with him, but I don't know whether, I don't remember whether he had anybody in a band or not, but whether did he have somebody playing with him, the second player?
I don't think he did.
I was down there, but I know I heard him play, and he played this old-timey leather breeches, you know, old-timey fiddle pieces. And I didn't think he was so good. And so some of them asked me that night. I said, Charlie says, why didn't you bring your fiddle down here and show that old man how to play the fiddle? I said, well, I expected to hear some real fiddle, but he wasn't
as good.
He wasn't as good as what I was expecting him to be.
He made a few early records himself. He recorded probably 4 songs or so, but it was just strictly fiddle, and that was all there was to it. There's no guitar or nothing else behind him, so it sounds a little empty. It's not full enough. It really isn't something to listen to and enjoy.
When I had heard Friday Puckett and Gid Tanner, but I think I'd heard him on a record. I don't think I'd heard him on the radio at that time. But after I got to going up, we got to go in different places, you know, further off. And then we got a call to go to Birmingham and play over the WAPI broadcasting station, radio station. And after we went up there and played, then we just got called for a year. And we got more than we could feel.
Do you remember what year that was when you first went on the radio?
Now, I don't remember just what year. You remember what year that was?
I sure don't.
But that was your first radio work.
Yeah, but it wasn't long now before we went to. Well, then we got called to go up there and make a record just on trial. And we went to the Bankhead Hotel, and they had a large glass room, you know, and they was several musicians, and they had some bands and some quartet singers, you know, and all. And we was standing there listening, waiting for our time to call us to come in. And there was 2 or 3 different string bands went in there. And I thought it sounded good, but they turned them down. They're just making them on a trial, you know. And if they made a hit, they're going to put them on the market. And when they turned 2 or 3 different ones down, wouldn't even make a record of their music. I told my brother, I said, we just out of luck. They won't take our music. And we went in there, and he wouldn't Didn't fool away no time. He says, okay, let's see what you can do. And I just pulled down on an old breakdown, you know. And he gave me a motion to stop. And I stopped, and he recorded it. And then he had me play one, you know, to record on the other side. So I just, first thing I thought of, I pulled down on it. He gave me the signal to stop, and he recorded that. And he didn't even pay our expenses up there. He told us, said, now, if this is good, you'll hear from us in a couple of weeks. Said, we'll send you a record. And it went on a couple of weeks, and we didn't hear from him. And people asked me once in a while, you know, didn't y'all make some fiddling records? And I got where I tell them we didn't. I thought it made a flash. I was, you know, it was no good. And was that in February or March we went up there?
I don't remember.
I know it was in the spring. I think it's in March. But over in August, I was at Fed and Mr. Williamson, the juryman. When I walked in the jewelry shop, he had that record now. We made it there at Birmingham, playing it. And when he played it, and I knew it was the very pieces we played up there to record. He says, Charlie, didn't you all make some fiddling records sometime past? And I said, well, we made some, but I said, we made one. But I said, I had never heard nothing from him, and I decided it wasn't no count. Well, he said, it's good. And he asked me, said, did they ask me how much you paid? I said, didn't pay anything. And he said, well, if I was you, I'd get in touch and find out where I'm coming from. And I asked him where he was getting them. He said, from E.B. Forbes Piano Company in Birmingham.
This is
E.B. Forbes and Son Piano.
Forbes.
Yeah. So I wrote them, and they told me where they was getting them from. That company, the company was in Chicago, Illinois, but they just had a man down there in Birmingham, you know, getting those records, recording, you know, just
distributed.
And so just as soon as he got my letter, well, he wrote me back where he's getting them. So I called that company, that man up in Chicago, and he claimed that he thought they'd done paid me for the record. He said, hadn't they paid you for that record yet? And I said, no, sir. He said, well, you get you up about a dozen selections to come over here and to record some more, and when you get over here, I'll pay you. And I didn't have much confidence in him because he hadn't paid us for the first. And I said, well, what about sending us expenses to pay our way over there? He says, find out how much it is. And I went out to that depot and found out, and he wired it to me. The next morning we left and went to Chicago. I'll tell you what our trouble was, that is, I've always regretted that we didn't get on the company to pay a royalty. When we got over that, see, they'd pay us $50 a record and paid all our expenses.
For each song.
Yeah. But we asked him about paying us a royalty, you know, that's a penny on the record. And some companies pay that. I know the Victor and other companies.
Oh, he would have paid 1 cent. He gave us our choice to take 1 cent royalty and us pay our expenses to Chicago, and them pay our expenses and give us $50 a record. And we didn't know anything about it. We afraid the way he done about that sample record that they was crooked, and we just took the $50 sold out to him. Best we knew to do was we took a royalty. We'd have got more out of that Birmingham record we made at Birmingham for a trial, and we got out of the whole thing.
This is another thing. He's going to hold us back now if we took a royalty. Hold us back till the last record released. But you see, he's so long about paying us for that we made at Birmingham, I was afraid we wouldn't ever get anything. And so that's the reason we made the choice of just getting paid in. I told my brother, I said, I've always heard it said a bird in the cage is worth 2 in the bush. We might go back and wait for that pay for these, not never get nothing. So we took it. And later on, then after the records come out and made a hit and was selling like hot cake everywhere I went to. They had them in the settlement. And we got on in with the Victor company. That agent come through that. He told us that I could just take one of these records down and play it. My company would give you a job right now. But you see, we'd done signed the contract not to make any for no other company.
No other company.
But then later on, then they called us to New York and went over there, and I think it was a dozen we made over there with 12. And then we got a call to New Orleans, Louisiana, and made 12 down there.
Those were for Decca down there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the New York, the ones in New York were...
companies, Chicago, but they're just down there, you know. I mean, in New York.
Yeah.
The Decca recording company.
What was that first record that was released? The 2 songs you used, recorded 2 songs in Birmingham. That's all you recorded.
2.
You remember which ones they were?
The first record we made. The first one I played was one called "Big-Footed Nigger in the Sandy Land."
Mm-hmm.
And the next one was a piece that I played, and turned my bow around, you know, and picked the strings, and I won a lot of prizes.
That was the Lost Child?
That's the Lost Child.
That's my favorite one of the ones that I have.
I won more prizes on that than every piece that I ever played.
Yeah, it's fancy the way you do that.
And I had another piece that I called Pop Goes the Weasel. I won a lot of prizes on that. Of course now, I had won a lot of prizes on that Lost Child before I took a part of that Lost Child and added this other part, you know. I was talking about picking my fingers and changing my bow around, changing into it. And after I recorded that Lost Child, then I added some more to that. As I picked the string, I turned my bow this way, and then when I go over to where I picked it again, just as I picked the string, I'd put my bow down here, you know, under the leg, and then come back up, and when I pick it, I'd put it down under both legs, come back up, and just as I picked that string to make it go Pop Goes the Weasel, I'd put my bow behind, you know, and play it over this way, and put it over my shoulder, and put it over that shoulder, and back on my back, and then up on top of my head. And then I go on just when I picked that string, while I was picking that string. In other words, it'd say, Pop Goes the Weasel, and I'd pick that string to make it say that. And while I was doing that, then I'd stick that bow between my legs, take my fiddle and play on that, and then put it down in ways on the floor. Or I don't remember how many different ways I did play it, but after I got to playing that, there's mighty few times I ever failed to carry the first prize away.
How did you get the idea for this trick fiddling? Did they?
I just come in my mind. I got studying about, you know, the way and that Lost Child, where I picked my middle finger, you know, and just knocked the double shuffle on the string, just at the same tune. If you ever heard the record, you know.
I have.
And then I changed my bow around another way, you know, different ways. So I decided there's other ways I could do it. And that's how he come in changing that bow. And that was really entertaining because now it wasn't such a real good fiddle piece, actually music, but the entertainment is what made it. That's where I got. That's how come to win so many prizes. I know when I went to West Point, Mississippi, there's 3 judges up there. Sometimes they'd put 3 judges on the bench, and sometimes they'd have 5. And one of them judges was a policeman, I know, because he had on a police uniform. And when I played that Pop Goes the Weasel all over, you know, in so many different ways, and I believe he was one of the judges, but I didn't know. He said, "Do you play on the stage?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I just hadn't never got started." And he said, "Well, that's all it takes just to get started." Well, they just give me the first prize right off the reel without any argument. And I went back down there twice more and got it then. Got it both times. Every time I went down there.
You would usually always choose Pop Goes the Weasel or The Lost Child as the songs to play to win?
Yeah, I found out I could win more on them than any other pieces I played. But now I'll tell you when I played, they had a contest, fiddlers contest at Tuscaloosa. They had a new auditorium down there, and they had invited, they said, 8 of the best fiddlers in the state of Alabama. They didn't invite all the fiddlers, they just selected 8 of the best fiddlers, and the champion fiddler of Alabama then is Y.Z. Hammond.
Y.Z.
Hammond.
Hammond. And
he was down there that night, and they said that auditorium would seat 10,000 people, but all the seats was full and standing around on the edge. And they arranged that a little different to what they'd been in, all that I'd been to before. They'd pick out judges, you know, and select and put them out separate, you know, to judge the fiddlers. And that time they let the audience judge. They just had 3 men to go with cards, you know, up and down from the back, front to the back, and back up, handing them cards out. And they let every person judge the fiddle and give them grade so much percent. And after they all played, you know, I wasn't expecting. I told my brother, I said, I won't get nothing. They went to counting that, giving the cards up, you know, and telling them out that their points, you know, and how many points each one got. And when it wound up, I had 156 points, more than any other one in the bunch. I got the first prize.
You beat out Hamlin then.
Yeah. Well, I've got, it's like I said a while ago, if we'd have got a royalty on what we made of those records, we'd have got lots more than what we did. But I enjoyed the trip, and I got to see a small portion of the city of New York, when probably I would never have seen any of it. I didn't see all of it, I just seen a small portion.
What about the titles to these songs, like The Lost Child? Had you always...
I tell you, I composed most of them myself now. He's talking about a while ago about Gid Town and Riley Puckett and them. I'd heard them, and I knew a good many old pieces. But the old-timey pieces like Turkey in the Straw and Hen Cackle and Leather Breeches, all like that had been recorded. Somebody had done recording. And when we got to Chicago, when we went to make them up there, he told us, now, we don't want anything that's done been recorded. And it wasn't many pieces. I didn't know many pieces but what had already been recorded. But now that piece, that big-footed nigger and Sandy Lamb, I heard Henry Ludlow play that at Berry one night at the Fiddlers Convention.
Henry Ludlow.
He was a good fiddler. He played smooth, He could really note that fiddle. And he played that, and back then I had a memory good enough, if not as good now as it was then. I could hear a piece one time, and sometimes I'd have a little trouble of getting it in my mind just how it went. And when I got home, I liked the fiddle piece, and I wanted to learn it. When I got home, I could remember the first part of it, but the chorus, I couldn't remember. But I kept trying to get it to come to my mind, and I went to bed with it on my mind. About 3 o'clock, I woke up, and it just clear, all the way through. I got up out of the bed and got my fiddle played over that enough that I got it impressed in my mind, that is, before I could remember it. I was afraid if I didn't get up then, I'd forget it. It'd be left the next morning. One time, I heard him play that one time, that Fiddlers Convention at Berry.
Did you change it around very much? Did he do the plucking, or did he do the picking on the strings?
Now that wasn't the piece of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was The Lost Child.
Big-footed nigger, that was.
Oh.
I'll tell you how come I composed that Lost Child myself, but I put that picking in the other part to it. That old man I talked about, old Uncle Players Carroll, is an old man. I guess he is 70 or 80 years old. But he played old-timey fiddle, and he played for dances. I've been to dances where he's at. Now, he played that Lost Child, but he didn't do nothing on it. He just picked the string with his fingers. But I added that picking, this way and the other, and bouncing the bow and whatever way he was playing. And then later on, after I recorded that, after I put that to it, then's when I added the other to it, called it Pop Go the Week.
Did what was his name? Carey or
Carroll.
Carroll. Oh. Did he call it The Lost Child too, or did you give it that?
He called it The Lost Child. But I added some more to it to what he had. That's what made it. Nobody wouldn't pay much attention to it the way he played it. But what I added to it, it made it more entertaining.
At these fiddlers conventions where you went, did they ever have guitar contests too? Did you ever enter anything by yourself?
No, they'd have a contest just for the guitars. They'd a lot of times have a fiddlers contest, and they'd have a band contest.
But nothing for just the guitar alone or anything.
They'd have contests I went to just for the guitar. We got to go on so much. I didn't play the fiddle to start with. We got to go on so much till I decided I'd mind to play the fiddle too, and play at the Fiddlers Convention. I got a fiddle and I hadn't been playing long, so maybe we both win a prize. When I've been playing places, he'd get the first prize and me the second. We'd swap up, he'd play the fiddle to start with. Of course, I never did play like he did, for I never did practice on the fiddle like he did. But I'd second for him on the guitar, play the fiddle, and he'd get the first prize. He'd second for me, play the fiddle, and I'd get the second. We won the first and second prize at different times.
Would he second for you on the guitar?
We'd just swap up instruments.
Did you ever play fiddle on any recordings yourself, Ira?
No, I never did play the fiddle.
Just strictly guitar?
He's so much better than I was. He'd had so much more practice on the fiddle. He was better on the fiddle than I was, and I was better on the guitar than he was. We practiced that way, you know, for a number of years before I even thought about playing the fiddle.
I've had several people tell me that I made the fiddle sound different than anybody that they ever heard, any other fiddle they ever heard. I remember him telling us that the fiddle convention they had to say it one night. Said he played before I did, and nobody didn't say nothing about the fiddle sounding good. And after I played, they come up asking about that, asking questions about it. Said I made it sound so much better than he did. They thought it was a different fiddle. They thought it was a better fiddle.
I think every fiddle in the audience in the contest had to take that fiddle and look over it after he played it and didn't pay no attention to it when I played it.
What about this, going back to this first recording session again, do you remember how it came about? Who called you up, or?
We called a man up there, Mr. Kerry Walker.
Kerry Walker?
Kerry Walker down here in Kennedy noticed they was going to take some trial recording of the South in Birmingham. And so he asked me if we'd go. And I told him we would. And so he called the man up and talked with him. I was standing by and he's talking. So the first thing he asked if we sung. Mr. Walker turned to me and asked me if we sung, and I told him we didn't sing much, we just played mostly. He told me he wouldn't be interested unless we sung. Mr. Walker said, very good. I said, I'd love to hear him. I said, well, I don't think I'd be interested unless to sing. He said, well, boy, he turned to me and asked me if I'd be willing to pay our expenses up there for him to hear us listen to us play. I told him, yeah. He says, they'll pay the expenses. He said, you won't be out nothing just listen to it. I said, well, if you'd listen to it. He said, well, so listen, but I don't think it'll do any good. And so we went up there that night. They had some bands sounding good to me, and he just frowned up and asked him if he didn't have anything better than that. The band just sounded real good to me. He wouldn't take anything they had. I didn't think it was any use for us to even wait for a trial. I told Charlie we just well go. After a while, he came walking by and asked him how long it'd be before he'd get to us. He said, I don't know. I said, what do you do? I said, we play the violin and guitar. I said, we're the one Mr. Walker called about from Kennedy. He said, well, I said, I'll listen at you before long. I said, I don't think it'll do any good. So I told Charlie again, we just well go. He wouldn't take our music. We got up there, the first piece Charlie started. He started smiling. He'd play just over what you call one, old people call a stanza, you know. Play over one stanza. He motioned to him to stop, said, we'll try that. I said, what else do you have? Charlie told him, started playing that, so he didn't play the little piece. We stopped him again. Then when he told us to try it, so he said it made good. We'd hear from him about 2 weeks. We didn't hear anything from it till Charlie heard it playing in a music store at Fayette.
He just had this portable recording equipment set up there in the hotel. You don't remember what his name was by chance?
It was Jack Cap.
Oh, Jack Cap. Well, then later was it Dave Cap that was with Dana?
Dave was his brother, wasn't
it? Yeah.
He was this Bronner Colander company to start with, and we made our first record at Chicago.
After Birmingham.
And then he went to New York, got in with this other company. He got into the broadcast company first and wanted to come play for that. And it looked like we couldn't go. We thought we couldn't. So I got in with this record company in New York making records. Well, he wanted us to come then and make some more records for that company. Our contract was out with this first company.
How would you choose the songs that you recorded? You just, I noticed you recorded waltzes and breakdowns and a little bit of everything.
Well, he wanted to kind of a mixture, and we just knew the pieces we played, and we just picked them out ourselves, what we thought would sound better.
After we made all of it, that I knew, except what had already been recorded. He said he didn't want nothing had already been recorded. And I told my brother, I said, well, I just have to compose something. I have to make them up myself. And I composed that Kennedy rag. It sold like hotcakes. He asked me how come he asked me if I composed it, and I told him he did. I did. And he said, how come you the name is that? And I said, well, I lived at Kennedy at that time. So I just put that rag, Kennedy rag.
I don't think I've heard that one.
That was, I think, about our third best record.
Yeah, I think it was.
And this was on Vocalion also?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We was playing for a dance down between Gordo and Tuscaloosa. Delrod, I believe it was. Anyhow, we was playing for a dance that night. I've been studying, trying to register something, that is, in other words, trying to think of something to compose something. And it just come to my mind. I played that piece for the dance, and they danced it just looked like just like it been something that's been playing for years. And so that was down on the L&N Railroad where we played. So I just made that up myself, you know, and I could tell they liked to dance by it, and that was a good setting. That sold a lot of them. So, and he said, he asked me how come with the name is that. Well, I had to have some kind of a name. I just thought we was down on the L&N Railroad. I called it that, down on the L&N Railroad. He just took it off. He'd ask me, he'd tell me to play over one, and I'd play over it, and he'd, I think to myself, well, he won't take that. But he wouldn't grumble about it. He'd just say, okay, and then he'd ask me what the name of it, and ask me how come it's the name, and he'd just make a record of it then. I never did beat many of them fiddlers. Now after I got Riley Puckett and Gid Tanner and them that I'd heard over the radio and heard their record, but there was a bunch of fiddlers from around Tuscaloosa that I dreaded at the Fiddlers Convention because they were good. Elk Brown and Charlie Brown, they come up there to Fayette one night to get a prize over me, and they didn't do it. So there's a fellow down there by the name of Jimmy Dickens. He is good too. And they brought him back up there. I got it over all of them. Of course, I'm not boasting about that, but somebody told me they said they was going to get the prize over me, but they didn't. And another fellow that I dreaded was a fellow by the name of Porter, Jimmy Porter. And he had the best fiddle I ever seen in my life. He bought it at the pawn shop. It cost him $10, I think. And I would declare that the best sounding fiddle I ever heard in my life. But he didn't play this ragtime breakdown music hardly at all. He just didn't play none of it hardly, did he? But he played that slow waltzes, you know, and it really sound good.
But I guess the judges or the audience liked the breakdown stuff better.
Yeah. They had judges that liked that kind of music. Well, that's the only time he ever got a prize over me. I know that. I know we were playing down at Liberty one night, high school, and they gave me the first prize and him the second prize. No, the third prize that night. And after we come out, he said, don't you think, he said, now I'm not saying I should have had the first prize. He said, don't you think I ought to have the second prize? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't guess the judges felt that way about it. But he told, a fellow Russian over there told me, and he told him, said, I'd been a bully with a fiddle for a long time. But said, there never had been a bully so big as what's come along, and other than a little bigger than he was. That is when he got one prize over. And after he got that prize, and he thought he'd done had it and gone with it. And that's when he boasted it. That there never had been a bully so big as what's come along, and other than a little bigger than he was. And I reckon that's last time, I reckon it's the only time he ever got a prize over. I was playing Palmetto one night down, that's Palmetto High School down below Kennedy. And I went down there 7 years and got the first prize every time. And I come out that night, there's a bunch standing out in the yard in front of the school building, and there's high steps there, and as I come down them steps, I heard somebody say, there's a group standing out there talking, I heard somebody say, who got the first prize? Somebody said, Charlie Stripling, the one that always gets it. And I walked on down there close to him, and I said, well, I have been lucky. Winning, giving prizes. I didn't say winning. I said, I didn't know. Sometimes I didn't know whether I won them or not, but they give them to me, and of course I took them. And there's a fellow standing there who's a stranger to me. I'd never seen him before. And he said, my friend, it ain't just luck with you. Said, you fiddle for it. Said, I heard you play. Well, that made me feel good. I'll tell you what they done one night. The boys got it in their heads, you know, because I put out some records, you know, and I got surprised so much. They met in early down there, and Mr. Smith, what was his name? J.L. Smith. Anyhow, he was he was a superintendent, of education. From Vernon Hills down, and he was the manager. And the other boys went in, a bunch of them early, and told him that they'd just give it to me by a name. Said I just had a name, fiddler. And they suggested concealing the judges, where they couldn't see the ones that played, and said I wouldn't get it. And I didn't know they'd done that, and when I noticed so when they went to playing that I didn't see no judges. Usually had them picked out, and set out on a seat separate. And after got around, all of them played by Mr. Smith. He said, now, it's been suggested we conceal the judges here tonight at this fiddlers convention, where they couldn't see the fiddler. And he said, now they awarded the prizes. He said, they'll call the number that won the prizes, and I'll call the name. And one of the judges back behind the curtain said, number 3 won first prize. He says, that was Charlie Stripling. And after it all over with, I didn't know nothing about, what they had planned out. But after it all over with, Mr. Smith come around and patted me on the shoulder, and he told me about what they'd done. He said, now, I think they ought to be satisfied now. He said, if they're not, they should be.
Just because you'd made records, that never did eliminate you from any contest, did it? And you were still eligible to enter even though you'd made records.
That's right, but I'll tell you what happened up there at Fayette now. Sometimes my wife would say, when you're telling these things, she'll say, well, folks feel like you're boasting about it. And I said, no, I don't boast. I was always glad to get what I got. If I got anything, and I always did, and most of the time got the first prize. They had given me the first prize so much up there. Until one night, I went up there to Fiddlers Convention, and that was my little girl. Now, most all of my children played music, and my little girl was my last wife next to baby. She went to second for the guitar. And Mr. Felix Robinson's wife, he is dead, but his wife is there. Now, she is the one that had got that arranged to where all the prize runners, when they give them the prizes out, first, second, and third, if it's 4 or 5, then give all the other fiddlers $1 apiece. And a lot of them would play. If they couldn't play much, they'd get in and get that $1. But she told me, when I went in that night, she said, you won the first prize up here so much, said the other fiddlers are kind of getting discouraged. She said, I'll tell you what I want to give. The first prize was $20. She just took out a $20 bill and handed me and said, I'm going to give you what the first prize is, and said, don't you enter the contest. Said, you go and play, but don't enter the contest. And so I told her, all right. And when I went in and played, and they announced that I wasn't in the contest. And then when they give their prizes out, and the others won them, they didn't explain to the audience why I didn't play, and I guess they wanted that. But she suggested, said, you not to play in the contest. Said, you won the first prize up here so much, so says it's discouraging to the other fiddlers.
Did you actually, were both of you making your living in music for several years?
No.
Did you have to work at other jobs too?
We worked at other jobs. It was a lot of help. I made this statement. I said I had made enough to play in the fiddle from the time I first started to have done me, I guess, to live on the rest of my life. But I had a lot of sickness and hospital bills and doctor bills, and took a lot out of it to pay it. But that was a way for me to pay it. Now, after my brother quit playing with me the guitar, I got a band and got to play it for dances, these American Legion huts, I played all of them up at bed. And the first night we played up there was Thanksgiving night. And I had the best band then I'd ever had, I think, in all the way around, because I usually just had him second the guitar when I go to fiddlers convention, something like that. But I had 4 or 5 piece band in and good instruments, and the boys was good.
What were some of the instruments?
Well, I had a fiddle and a guitar and a mandolin and a steel guitar and a banjo. But I didn't have the banjo all the time, but had probably there's 5. Most of the time, though, there's just 4, but part of the time there's 5 pieces in the band. And I had it on the Thanksgiving night, it's a holiday, you know, and there's a large crowd out there that night, a good crowd, it being a holiday night. And them folks like their music. And they got to come in from Birmingham. And while there's people come from Tuscaloosa, Meridian, Mississippi, Columbus. And they got where that was a large building. Well, you know about the National Guard Army, it's a large building.
Oh,
And they got where they just fill that place up. Now, they built seats all around. Well, they had some when we started playing up there, but they put them all around that house on the inside of the room next to the wall. And they got where they come so many people up there, they didn't have, and there's lots of folks that just come to listen to music. Told me they did. But they got where they come, so many come, they didn't hardly have room to dance. And we made good money. But, of course, we give the schools a certain percent, but still, the first night we played up there, we got $85 for our part. And just getting, I think it's 40%. Not over 50, I don't remember just what it was. But as we played on, you know, and they kept building up, you know, and finally just got to where it didn't hardly have room for what come in there.
What'd you call your band?
But I just said, but with the name of the, they'd call it Charlie Stripling Band. And when, you know, when me and him, when he was playing, remember when my boys played, and I raised 2 boys, it was real good. I really rather have them because they come in and played with me when they were just kids. My oldest boy played the guitar, and my second boy a mandolin. We played for dances, and he'd sit in a chair like this, and his feet wouldn't hit the floor, he'd just hang down. And over about 10, 11 o'clock, he looked like he'd go to sleep. But he'd never stop with that mandolin. He'd go on and keep the correct time.
Keep going.
I've heard several laughs about it. Said it looked like he was sound asleep, but he's still rapping that mandolin.
A lot of people think you was asleep. They'd say he'd go to sleep, but he'd just stand and play that mandolin alone. He'd never messing with the time or chording or nothing. Just.
What kind of songs did you play at when you had your band?
Well, we played some about everything. Played them now. Some of the, I didn't sing much myself. I never did. We didn't make many records and singing records, and when we went to, because we couldn't sing much. But some of the boys in that band was pretty good. But most of now, when we was playing for dancing, I'd played so many dances till I'd learned what different kinds of time. I first come in just playing old breakdown music for old-time square dancing. And back then, when I first started playing, they didn't know anything about round dancing. You never seen nothing like that out in the country where we had the dancing. And when I got to going Columbus, Mississippi, Paris, Birmingham, places, you know, around town where they round dance, when I first started, I didn't know much time for that, but I learned it. I seen I had to if I kept my job, if I kept getting called. And I got where I'd buy, after we got broadcast stations, radio, I'd listen and get a lot of it on that. If I get a record, you know, different kinds of time. When I first come in playing for round dances, about all I could play is just something what they call a foxtrot, you know, a straight. But sometimes somebody's come and request me to play a two-step. I didn't even know how to play it, but I soon learned it. And I got to where then, of course, I could play a waltz. And then I found out there's different times to all that. Some of them were just real slow, draggy time. They call for toddle, you know. And I never did. I just sort of began to get on a little of that when they got that twist, you know, that new kind of a dance. That was a different time.
Well, what year was this after you had left the band, Ira? When did you actually leave and quit playing?
It was in the 30s during that panic. Got to where we couldn't get enough out of it just as far as all to go hard. And I had some business in town down there. Most always have to get someone to replace when I left. And so
you just got out of the music business.
Yeah, we couldn't get much money out of it during that panic from the 32 to 38. So I'd have to hire someone to replace for the business whatever I had when I left. And I just turned it over to he and the boys. They could realize more out of it and do about as well anyhow. The boys got to where they played real good.
These are all, I mean, it was just you and your Who else was in your group? Your sons and...
Well, now, after my sons went to the Army, I picked me up a band, just my neighbors. Russell Johnson, his boy, and at the Lower Park, and Max Young, and at the what's that Tomlin's name? Tommy. Now he had a steel guitar, and he's real good with that.
This electric guitar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they had the guitar, hooked up with amplifier, and I had a cord to hook to my fiddle, and that's the reason.
Electric all the way there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you now, I spoke about it a while ago about sounding like I was boasting. I wasn't boasting, but I got so many compliments on it. You see, as we go to one place like that up there, and people hear us play, then they'd want to get a call somewhere else. And I got where I got more calls than I could fill. That man I talked about a while ago I heard about on that, about having such crowds. Now, it's like he said, when that panic was on, that depression was, it got where we didn't have many crowds. But still, after he quit us, and I took my boy, we'd go out to these little country schools and just charge 10 cents for admission, But you see, we got it all, and we could buy a barrel of flour for about $3.50, $4. And I could still make my living that way.
When did you finally stop playing altogether?
I'll tell you what I said, 1928.
Oh,
1950, I mean.
1950?
I was playing somewhere 3 nights in a week. And I was playing at the community house down between Fayette and Tuscaloosa on Saturday night, down in Mississippi on Friday night, another place down there on Thursday night, part of the time, not all the time. And there was large crowds there. That was a large building. It was a school to start with. But they built a larger school, high school, and they called that the Mayfield Community House. That's where we played. And they just filled that place up. And everybody looked like they enjoyed it. And my band was to meet in here that evening, and I got sick that morning. And when they come that evening, I told them I was sick, but I thought it'd be all right. I had a cramp in my stomach, and I took about a half a bottle of that Pepsi-Bismol. All the way before that, eased my stomach. I thought it'd be all right, and when I got down there, it just kept hurting. Some of the boys went and got me some medicine. They wanted to carry me to the hospital. I said, well, I'll be all right after a while. Finally, some of them went and got me a Pepsi-Cola, and I drank it, and that come this belching, so it didn't seem like it gave me a little ease. And I went on in there and started to play, and there was a large crowd there. The boys done went on in, went to rapping with their guitars, and they started dancing. And I told the boy, brought me Pepsi-Cola, I said, I believe I'll be all right. And went on in there and played about an hour. And I just got so bad I couldn't play, and I didn't know what some of them made me think I was drunk. They had to just might near tote me out of the house, and then I went to the doctor, and I had to go to the hospital. And I didn't ever play anymore. When I come out of the hospital, I had the arthritis so bad that I got where I couldn't pick up a cup of coffee and raise to my mouth. So I just quit and never did play no more. After I got back where I could play a little bit, the boys had all left me, and I lost interest and got out of practice.
You still have your old fiddle? Do you ever get it out and fool with it anymore at all?
Never did. I got it out of time too. But I just got so bad out of practice to that.
I thought maybe I'd ask you to saw a tune on.
Well, I loaned it out. Now I ain't even got.
You don't even have a fiddle here anymore.
No.
My nephew went up in the attic the other day and brought down my old guitar. I guess the first time it had been brought down in the attic in 5 or 6 years.
I have my husband's fiddle and guitar. I keep them up in a closet in the attic. I'm keeping them souvenirs. Different ones that they wanted to burn, they wanted to buy, and wanted to do this and do that. I said, no, I'm going to keep that as long as I live, and somebody else can have them then.
My youngest son that lives in Gardendale down here last week, he brought a boy with him. Had a guitar and amplifier. I seen he was good. He brought him over here and wanted to play something. So I told him I'd loan my fiddle out, but I sort of wished I had it back. But I told him I was bad out of practice. I couldn't think of nothing to play it. If I could think of pieces I could play, I couldn't play them because I was so bad out of practice. But now I remember a time when I could start to play it for a dance early in the night, just sit down and play the fiddle by itself, and I could play till midnight, and not play the same tune twice. I just knew enough of them, had learned enough that I could play that long and play different tunes. And I seen that boy had a good guitar, and he's good, and I kind of wished that they had it. I would have tried it, but I didn't loan it out, because I never did use it.
Did you ever have any regular radio shows? Were you ever on the radio regularly?
Yeah, well, we played some on the radio, not much, but we go around picture shows, theaters. You know, we went down Fulton, Mississippi, and we in 2 nights down there, just me and my brother, and we got more than I got for a bale of cotton. I sold a bale of cotton next week, and we got more than two nights playing down there, than I got for a bale of cotton. And that man owned that theater told me, he said, "You got us the largest crowd we've ever had here." And he said, he says, "Can you play music? Can you read music?" And I said, "No, sir, just play by ear." He said, "That's a pity." He said, "If you can read music, I'd recommend you these theater owners in these large cities, and you could really mop up." He said, "You go to town." But he said, "Now they require somebody that can read music, whatever they put before you play it." But I regretted then. I wished then that I'd learned to learn music, but I couldn't do it. I never did do it.
What were some of the radio stations you were on?
Well, I played at Birmingham. I believe that's the first place, the WAPI station at Birmingham, and then played at Columbus, Mississippi.
This is you and your brother, Ira, both of you.
We played WBRC at Birmingham, didn't we?
Yeah, we played on WAPI, WBRC.
Did you have a sponsor? Was this a sponsored show?
No, we didn't play. Now, we didn't play just a short time. But that man, he come in there that night, told me, said, "Now, y'all made a hit." Said, I've got telegrams from across the water." Said, "You'll have to come back up here." Well, look. Then after we played up there, then they got to call us. People had heard us play, they got to call us other places. Now that's what Mr. Acey put on his write-up, put in there. He said we got a build-up when we started playing for dances, and fiddlers' convention, and just got spreading out further and going further, and then went and played over at broadcasting station, and we got a call to go and make some records. That's the way he put it down. But we had got that, made arrangements about making the records. He said, "Mr. Walker hope us out." And he was interested, and I appreciated what he done.
We started our records at a bad time, though. They just started the radio then, and the companies wouldn't let them play their records over the radio now, then.
Radio's taking the play away from the phonograph.
But they wouldn't let them play the records back then over the radio. And see, they just started the radio, and it was taking place of the phonograph in the home. And records didn't sell for a while like they did before and like they did after we made ours.
Sure. How about, I might ask you about a few other people that you might have known along the way. There was a couple of guys, I think they were from Alabama, they were called Freeman and Ashcraft. Do you ever know them?
I know some Ashcraft, but I don't know whether I know the ones you're talking about.
I know. I just happen to think of because down here between Kennedy and Reform, there's a little place there called Ashcraft Corner or something. That name sort of rang a bell, and I was wondering if there's any relation to the Ashcraft that made a record or two.
We were really about 3 miles over Ashcraft Corner.
Is that about how far it was? 3 miles.
About 3 miles, Ashcraft Corner.
What about a couple of fellows over here in Mississippi, Narmore and Smith? Did you ever?
Yeah, I know Smith. And I don't know about the Armore.
Narmer. Smith, I think they made records for OK Records, I think. They had the Carroll County Blues.
Yeah.
Those numbers. I didn't know whether you'd met them or not.
No, I never was around them.
Do you know of any other artists that you met along the way? Like when you were at these recording sessions, did you ever see any other artists there that were recording at the same time? Did you ever meet any of them?
Not that I remember of. Somehow or another I never did.
We saw them, but we didn't have an introduction to them.
I never knew who they were. Because there's quite a few artists, especially on Vocalion, of course, that recorded fiddle numbers.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe you knew some of them.
No, I didn't never meet any of them, get acquainted with them. Most of what I'd heard over the radio and on records. I never got acquainted with them, never did meet them.
What about today's music? Did you ever listen to the hillbilly music today on the radio at all? Did you ever listen to any of it today?
Yeah, now when Carl Saltzman and the Green Valley Boys was on the radio down there at WRAG, I listened to them about it, but not nearly every day they'd come on about it.
Yeah, on television now, I still listen to them.
Yeah, I see them once.
Yeah, they made some records.
That's it. Yeah, they made some records. Now that's it. Jimmy Brock. If I'm in the judge, he's a good fiddler. He's got lots of use of his fingers.
Jimmy Brock used to come down here and play with you when he was learning.
Well,
that was JC.
Yeah, JC. I don't think Jimmy ever come down here.
Where is Saltzman now?
He's retired.
Oh, Carl Saltzman did?
His band is playing. They go by the name of Mississippi Travelers now. They're playing down in Mississippi for some company down there. Volunteer company.
I think Carl's quit the band, hasn't
When he's retired, he plays with them sometime, just to be a duet.
When he's playing over at WRAG, they call him Carl Saltzman and the Green Valley Boys.
Green Valley Boys. That's the way they recorded too. Good bluegrass. They call it bluegrass music nowadays.
Yeah.
5-string banjo, and I guess the banjo that was in your band though was probably a 4-string banjo, wasn't it? When you had the steel guitar.
And they wasn't as good as what that fellow had the banjo wasn't as good as what Carl Saltzman had in his band.
Different type of picking altogether.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's about the extent of it. I guess we're just about out of tape anyway, and
Yeah,
might as well
so.
ring to a halt here. Sure, thank you too for the interview.